Hi, this is a short introduction video of Partner Connect and how to do daily and monthly distribution reports from the partner side. Okay, so the first thing here is a quick introduction to Partner Connect. The idea is that partners work with us from supply chain through the FLAs. We add the distributions that they manage and the final distribution points, and they help us do the monitoring. Right? WFP has three internal systems: Comet, LES, Wings, for project management, logistics, and financing. And those systems help us do the analysis and decision making for procurement of food, moving those food across the world, and giving it to the partners. Right? Partners are, though heavily involved, do not have a way of communicating to the systems directly. So Partner Connect comes in and allows us to build a bridge of partners inputting information to the systems and pulling back information to their end. We in Partner Connect are working in three modules right now. There are other on the ways, but we're going to focus now on the distribution reporting. The distribution reporting module has two main phases. First one is a daily or ad hoc distribution reports, in which the partner sees the location, for example, in Ukraine, up to Orion level. This is defined by the FLA. And in this location, the partner can report for multiple dates and multiple final distribution points. For example, here, the partner has a final distribution point A, in which the collector X, which is a user and given, reported from May 1st until the 5th distribution. The collector has to input the location, has to input the number of people assisted, and also the tonnage of the food, including the batch number and for each particular commodity. And for the same final distribution point, a different collector also has the permission, but he entered a different date, right? As well as a final distribution point, a different final distribution point, in this case B, collected by a different collector and an overlapping set of dates because it's a different location. And he did the same, set a location, number of people with the particular genders and age groups, and including the commodities, batch numbers, and tonnage. Okay, so this series of daily or ad hoc distributions automatically add up to the monthly distribution report. The editor in the partner side is a different row, and he can open and see this. He cannot edit the individual distribution reports, but they will be automatically added in the monthly distribution. He will review them. He can edit the numbers, edit the commodities, the batches, and the metric tonnage of each, and he can approve that and send it to the approver. Once the approver likes it, he can then send it to WFP. And from the WFP side, they can also make a last check, and the data goes into DOTS, Comets, and our internal systems. If by any reason the project manager or the person who's approving that report doesn't like it, that will have to go back to the editor. The same thing if the WFP team does not like it, it goes back to the editor with a small message. Right? Okay, so let's go into the system. So first thing we do is log in. If you don't have an account, you should create an account. Make sure that when you try to log in, you use Partner Connect. Right? The Partner Connect QA is the test environment, which I'm going to use now for the demo. But when you're reporting, you need to remove the QA, right? It's just that. Okay. We log in and register. If you don't have an account, you create a new one. If you create a new one, you get an email to verify that account. When you press that link, you'll be able then to ask WFP to assign you permissions. In this case, I'm going to log in as Enrique Moro, who is an ADRA collector, editor, and approver. He can see the reports, and by pressing reports, automatically it opens for the current month for this year, and you will see the reports and the locations under each activity code, right? So for example, we have Nikolai Shishka. There's a general distribution, and there's also a prevention of micronutrient deficiencies. In this case, the PDMs won't be something that is distributed. but you can go, for example, into this general distribution for Kapushki. By opening this, we see that there's already two reports, one for June, one to the second, and one for one to the sixth, with 203 and 212, 312 participants, total tonnage, and we can view them or delete them. In this case, we'll add a new one to show you how to make a daily distribution. This is this step that we talked about before, right? So let's do one. The first part is to report the dates in which we are distributing. In this case, it's from the 7th until the 10th, and we will add here the admin level 3, comma, space, admin level 4 or settlement, and an FTP. This you change for your generic actual names, right? Once we press next, we see the participants. We have the males, females, and the different age groups loaded by the project. In this case, let's say we distributed 30 for the males, 30 females from 24 to 59 months, but we also assisted 50 males and 100 females between 12 and 17 years old. If we press next, we will go to the commodities. In the third step, the commodities are preloaded in this case, but if they wouldn't, you would add a commodity. To add a commodity, you select that commodity and select the commodity that is exactly in your waybill. Let's say this is the prepackaged food. We add the commodity, and we say, no, we did not distribute any of these, so we delete it. And when we have added the commodity, is the one we added just now, we have to select the batch number. And this pulls up batch numbers directly from our internal system. Yeah, so when we do that, we can report the amount of tons that we distributed. In this case, we distributed 2 tons and 135 kilograms. And we had the same commodity, but in this case, we had a different batch number. Right? So in this case, let's say this was this batch number, and the tonnage was a remainder from last time, only 100 kilograms. If we press next, we see the summary with the beneficiaries, the batch numbers, the tonnage for each commodity, and we can add a comment. There was shelling. Okay, if we don't like any of these, we can go back and edit them. For example, if I say the batch number was not correct, I can go there, back, and change it. Right? Note that it doesn't allow me to have the same batch number. Okay, go back to the summary, and we can submit it. Right. Note that when you're submitting an offline daily distribution or ad hoc daily distribution, you must be online. If you're offline, you need to wait until you're online to submit it, to press the button submit, otherwise you lose the information. Okay, so with this data that's already loaded for the daily or ad hoc distributions, we can go to the monthly. And the monthly, like we said before, summarizes all the different entries for the ad hoc or daily. We cannot select stock only, but we can open a monthly distribution. In this case, it comes preloaded with the locations. We can add GPS coordinates if we see relevant, and it asks for the number of assistance days. Let's say in this case, the food boxes were intended for 30 days. If, for example, it was just bread, we will put number 5, which is 5 days. And this, you can usually find it in your FLA. There were no problems encountered, so we won't leave any other notes. So we go to the next step, and it goes back into the beneficiaries. Here, the beneficiaries are aggregated for all the daily ones that we have mentioned before. And let's say we can modify that because I'm the editor, and I can say it was 50, not 49. And I would, if I have this information, like to mention the number of the 50 that were new, the number between the 62 that were new, let's say they were 10. Right? Note that by changing this number, it doesn't affect the total because it's just a sub amount. Here, in the second table, we have to look at the total and the resident status. We know that 80% are residents and 20% are internally displaced population. If you don't know the gender designation of this, you leave it blank, and the system will calculate by the demographics in the location. But if you know exactly from these groups of people, if you collect that information at the individual level, you can give a calculation of the proportion that are male. So let's say that 45% were male and 55 automatically is loaded in the females. And for the ADPs, you say 20% were males. Go next, and we have the preloaded commodities. The commodities come already from what the batches that we reported during the daily or ad hoc distributions. Note that in this case for June, for all Ukraine, the opening stocks will be 0 because that we divided by Ryan during June, so then the system won't recognize the locations for the opening stocks. But what we'll do is that if you know you have an opening stock of, for example, 3 tons, we'll mark them as an internal movement. So for pasta, I knew that I had an opening stock of 3 tons. I mark it as internal movement, and then the system says it's closing as a closing stock of 0. If we have, for example, an opening stock of 4, it will give me a closing stock of 1 because I distributed 3. Note here that for this commodity, I had 3 tons and 125 kilograms, and we lost 100 kilograms due to flooding. So I can select here, flooding. Also, the opening stock of this, let's say, was 1 ton, and the opening stock of this was 200 tons, right? And I have a closing stock of 75.8. If I want to add commodities at this point, I can do that. If I want to change the batch number, I can also do that. Okay, here we go and check the information, and we can submit. I can submit, and then after submitting, it's very important that to note that this has been submitted and it says awaiting partner approval. If it's waiting a partner approval, we go as the approver and view and approve report, scroll to the bottom and send it back. If you send it back, you need to write a note. Why? Or if we approve it, that goes to WFP. And in that case, somebody from WFP will get an email saying this particular partner and this particular location have submitted an approval. Please approve it is a corresponding location. And that's it.